Professor of Russian and East European History at the University of Alberta in Canada. Welcome to the programme. How do you think that these new long-range missiles will help change the fighting on the ground in Ukraine?
I think they'll certainly slow down the war in the Donbass, where Russia has been making gradual but clear progress over the past few days. They could, of course, be used for longer-range targets, and it will allow Ukraine to fire from, perhaps 70 kilometers away. That means they would be out of harm's way, and they would be equal then to the Russian missiles. But actually, it seems that this particular weapon is more accurate than the equivalents on the Russian side. So I think it would sway the balance on Ukraine's side. Having said that, Russia still has far more weapons and far more troops. So it wouldn't necessarily mean that Ukraine could acquire a victory in the east. I think that's a really long shot at the moment.
And you say that point about not acquiring a victory. And when you look at the weapons that have been given to Ukraine so far, would you say they're enough to fight, but are they enough to win?
Well, I think they would allow Ukraine, on paper at least, to take back some of the territory in the Donbass. But we're dealing now with territories that are under Ukrainian control. Further to the east, these territories have been under Russian control now for more than 8 years. And they are very, very heavily bedded in. They would be much harder to remove and push back than the territories that are under threat now in the western and northern parts of the Luhansk region. So I don't see any quick result from this, but I think it would stop the Russian advance in its present form, and that would be of great benefit to Ukraine. It would also perhaps give Ukraine more bargaining power if there is to be any kind of agreement or moderated agreement between the two sides in the longer term. I cannot see it coming in the next few days, for example, but perhaps on a month-to-month basis, this would be to Ukraine's advantage. So I think all around for Ukraine, it's a good deal to get these. Of course, they wanted more, but the United States is not prepared to send weapons that would escalate the war or move it into Russian territory.
And the Kremlin has said that sending these weapons actually increases the risk of direct confrontation between Moscow and NATO. Would you agree?
I don't think so. I mean, NATO is far too strong a force for the Russians to take on in every single way other than actual nuclear weapons. And so far, I don't think there's a great danger of nuclear weapons, particularly strategic ones, being used, but possibly tactical ones could be used in Ukraine if Russia is really facing a dire situation. But if you look at the two forces on paper, in every other respect, NATO is far superior to Russia. And also in terms of the economies, there's no comparison at all, since one of the NATO countries alone would be equivalent to, say, the entire GDP of Russia. So you're not talking of equal sides here, which makes me think, I've thought from the very beginning that Russia was taking on too much with this war if Ukraine was going to get supported from the West.
David Marples from the University of Alberta in Canada, thank you very much indeed for your time and your thoughts. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.